The Hutverse event in NHL 24 brought 5 of the most unique and weird cards that we've potentially ever seen in Hockey Ultimate Team. They're also extremely good. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 5 Hutverse cards that we've got. I'm going to talk about the cheapest ways to make them, the best ones to go after, and how they stack up to other cards of their same position. Let's hop into it. So here are the 5 Hutverse cards that were released in Hockey Ultimate Team alongside the Male Team of the Year, featuring Tage Thompson and Anze Kopitar on defense, as well as Shea Weber, Erik Karlsson, and Morgan Rielly, all being forwards. So let's break down what these cards look like, starting with Erik Karlsson. He's a right-handed winger at 6 foot 190, and it's funny because Erik Karlsson has always been statted out like a winger. He's got great skating at 94 across the board, a wrist shot at 93, hand stats in the mid-90s, a weak body checking rating, and again, as you can see, with only 50 faceoffs, he's a pure winger. He's got playmaking forward and sniper forward, as well as shooting boost and agile dangler boost. That does mean that you can get the big bonus to shooting by activating shooting boost as well as sniper forward, which would almost max out his wrist shot. Now, for my time playing with this card, you definitely notice the shiftiness. Like, it's very fun to use him, especially with puck on a string. Something that I've enjoyed, at least just playing the moments, is trying out some of these superstar abilities and paying attention for them more. I noticed that I personally am enjoying puck on a string a little bit more just based on my playstyle. I'm always moving the stick left and right, combining that with elite edges, and you definitely feel how snappy he is ripping around the zone. Wheels has been a fantastic ability now with the buff from the prior patch, and Make It Snappy has definitely had a more increased use this year. The issue is going to depend on what abilities can you activate, because if you can't activate any, and he's going to play lower in your lineup, let's say you've got Team of the Year Nathan MacKinnon and maybe Brendan Shanahan, then this card really doesn't have a ton else to offer you. But if he's going to play a little bit higher up and you can justify putting a few abilities on him, he definitely was fun. Like I said, especially ripping around the zone. Our next forward is the left-handed winger, Morgan Rielly. He's got playmaking forward and sniper forward, as well as defensive boost and playmaking boost, which is an interesting combo because defensive boost would get his body checking up just a little bit higher, and he is 6'1", 222, so very good size. He's got 93 speed and excel, 92 agility, with 90 balance and 88 endurance, an okay shot, which you can improve with sniper forward, 90 deking, as well as decent defensive stats. The thing I noticed most about Morgan Rielly is how effective he was in tight around the goal. You definitely notice close quarters in tight, and while I never use tape to tape just because I don't really think it's all that necessary because of the cost and the fact that the pass assist model was turned back on in NHL 23, you can notice the speed at which passes will fly around when you have someone with gold tape to tape. I still don't think that it would be worth 6 ability points because that just makes each card so situational, meaning that you would have to be using Morgan Rielly in the offensive zone or wherever, or whoever you've got with tape to tape, as your passer. And while offline, that's definitely a viable option, online, those situations aren't always going to be able to be in your control. However, I still did find myself enjoying it a little bit more. But on the perimeter, outside of like that in the slot area, I just didn't really notice Morgan Rielly at all. And then we've got the 90 overall Shea Weber, 6'4", 230, a right-handed centerman with 91 speed and excel, 90 agility, 93 balance, a great slap shot power up at 97, obviously. 95 faceoffs, 90 body checking. His deking, however, down to 85 is definitely lacking. Got power forward and sniper forward. We've talked about that a little bit. I've liked sniper forward quite a bit. And then you can go shooting boost or checking boost. In my opinion, with his size and his body checking being at 90, it's really not necessary to go any higher with checking boost. You've also got silver truculence. That means that you don't really need to go any higher with it. Gold 1T, silver quick draw, and silver unstoppable force as well is an elite ability combo. The one issue I have with 1T on a forward is something that I've talked about quite a bit. With 6 ability points, it's not cheap, and it is just very hard, especially in online games, to get a specific card set up for a one-timer that is open. The AI in this game, especially your AI on offense, are dumber than they have ever been. They simply don't move a lot when you cycle around, And when you do, your forward that comes back to cover your defenseman at the point will just stay at the point, making it even more difficult to set up predictive plays, especially with one-timers. However, I think the effective way to use 1T is just quick one-timers off the rush. I have noticed that to be a little bit more effective, but even without activating his gold zone ability, you've got 95 face-offs. He's 6'4", 230 with silver quick draw and unstoppable force. This is like an improved version of the Hut champs Eric Lindros, and because, in my opinion, center is very weak in terms of the high-end competitive cards, this is one of the best centers in the game. On to defense, we've got the 90 overall, Anze Kopitar, 6'3", 225, a left-handed defenseman with two-way defenseman and offensive defenseman as an option. The combination of defensive boost and two-way defenseman will max out his defensive awareness and stick checking. He's got 85 body checking at 6'3", 92 speed and excel, 92 agility with synergies activated, a shot that's at 90, and hand stats above 90, a very good all-around card. Gold Shutdown is one of the best abilities in the game. Born Leader, which does activate with hits, Seeing Eye, and Quick Pick are all useful abilities on defensemen. The issue I have with Anze Kopitar is simply that there are a lot of strong left-handed defenseman options now. For example, if you have both team builders in Willie Mitchell and Rob Mergier, as well as Nations of Hockey Victor Hedman, you're not going to want to make Anze Kopitar to kick one of them off. However, if you've just started the game and you're looking for a card to build around on your back end, this is a very good one. I've had a lot of issues with stick checking in NHL 24 simply because when you knock the puck off of someone's stick, it just seems to go right back to them. And I think that's because a lot of players have really high offensive awareness, which is the stat that dictates whether they will win puck battles and things like that. My time playing with Anze Kopitar, especially with Shutdown, I noticed his stick checking to be really effective. And then lastly, the 90 overall, 6'6", 220, Tage Thompson, your right-handed defenseman. He's got offensive defenseman and two-way defenseman, as well as shooting boost and playmaking boost. In my opinion, if you go two-way defenseman, you would improve his defensive awareness a little bit more, which would help him out just a little bit. 91 speed and excel, 90 agility and balance. And again, with shooting boost activated, you've got mid to high 90s in the shooting stat. His hand stats are all above 90. 85 body checking on someone who's 6'6", 220 is more than enough. The only issue here is that his abilities aren't that strong. Thunderclap will work from anywhere behind the face-off circle, which is definitely a big buff that it received this year. In reverse, I really don't think you need to activate, simply because in most cases you want to be stride for stride with an opponent, at least online. Stick him up on someone who's 6'6" is very useful. And then Silver 1T. I do want to note, guys, that shooting abilities will not stack. I spoke with the developer at EA, and ones like Thunderclap that give an exceptional power and accuracy when taking slap shots from the point, and an ability like 1T, which will improve power and accuracy on one-timers, technically a slap shot, they do not stack. So that effectively eliminates one of his abilities. The big bonus here with Tage Thompson is the fact that he's 6'6", meaning that his reach is just at such an advantage. You have to stay far away from Tage Thompson's card if you want to enter the zone. You combine that with the fact that a lot of players have Nations of Hockey Victor Hedman, and you've got two 6'6" defensemen that are going to be a mess to try and get around in the offensive zone. Just an insane card. Now, in regards to the tier list of these 5 players, Erik Karlsson and Morgan Rielly, I would only get to 90 overall if I was a fan of those players. If you have any interest in putting Erik Karlsson or Morgan Rielly at forward and you're a fan of either player, that's the only situation in which I would make them. I think that there are far cheaper players at the same positions that are more effective. Shea Weber, Tage Thompson, Anze Kopitar, he is a great option to make only if you don't have both of the team builders that are left-handed defensemen, or one of them and Nations of Hockey Victor Hedman. I just don't see the value there at all when it comes to Anze Kopitar. Tage Thompson and Shea Weber, in my opinion, are both S-tier cards. And for anyone that hasn't watched my channel, S-tier cards are cards that I think that I guess you would classify as must-make, or cards that if you made will have the most longevity and impact on your team, and you don't need to be worried about the cost because they are going to be extremely effective for you. I would probably put Tage Thompson a little bit ahead of Shea Weber just because there are not a ton of right-handed defenseman options. But either one is a great choice. Now, these do start out at 83 overall, and I will show you how to acquire them and why you want to use them. It will cost you 15 power-up collectibles to get all the way to the 90 overall. No small investment. However, you will have the ability to make these cards anytime. It is not like the Team of the Year event in which you can only make them during this week. It looks like they will remain in sets, and you can go ahead and make them at whatever time that you are able to. If you were to refund all of these cards after getting them to 90 overall, you will only lose 5 collectibles, so keep that in mind find that is not a huge loss. Power-up collectibles are essentially a 1-for-1 in terms of value with Team of the Year collectibles. About 22,000 coins in value, so you would lose about 100k if you were to power them all the way up and then power them all the way down. But like I said, with these two, especially Tage Thompson and Shea Weber, because they're so big, you really don't need to power them down for quite some time. If you are just trying to get games done for objectives that we'll touch on in just a little bit, I would probably recommend Carlson and Morgan Riley simply because they are fast enough and you can go all the way to tier 3 or 85 overall without worrying about losing any investment because you can refund your 1 power-up collectible and not lose anything. You're essentially renting the upgrade, and they've got 90 skating. You can throw them on the 4th line, and because we're playing Rivals Burst at the time of this recording and the event, the 4th line on your team really won't see the ice at all during Rivals Burst, so again, you're able to shelter them a little bit. Now let's touch on how to make these cards and why you are going to want to use them. The main reason is because the Team of the Year objectives, which are only out for a single week and are an extreme discount on a Team of the Year card that you're trying to make, you can get 8 in total, which is about 175,000 coins in value. You will need to perform all of these objectives with Hutverse player items. It can be the 83s, that's fine, but one of them is complete 75 games in Rivals, Squad Battles, and Champs. That can be done on Squad Battles with 2-minute periods on Rookie mode. However, even with all 5 in your lineup, that would be 15 games. So it is still quite an investment, and that is if you have all 5 in your lineup. When it comes to the actual Hutverse objectives, they're much more damning. It is actually pretty rough. Not so much the score goals or win games, things like that, but there is one that will require you to get 280 games played in Rival, Squad Battles, and Champs. You have a month to do it, essentially, but with only 5 cards out right now, that's 56 games with all 5 in your lineup. Obviously, that's not doable for 99.9% of the player base. To acquire these cards, you go into sets, and then the Team of the Year event sets. You will see the Hutverse event sets, and as you can see, all 5 of the Hutverse cards can be made for 2 Hut 24 collectibles, these weird balloon ones. They will net you the 83 overall version of whatever Hutverse card that you were trying to get. Now, you can save yourself a ton of time and trade in something like an 87 overall card item and get 8 Hut 24 collectibles, but obviously I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you're extremely Hut rich and you don't have a lot of time and you just want to get things finished, because an 87 overall has a ton of value, especially during Team of the Year. So to get it for free, what you can do is go to Hut Moments, and there are 5 Hutverse moments that you can complete, and 3 of them will net you a Hut 24 collectible, meaning that you can get 1 of them for free. On top of that, they also offer 2 power-up collectibles as well, which effectively means that the 83 that you make, you can get up to 85 for free and just rent those 2 upgrades. Now, currently, if you are able to win 5 shutout games, again, Rookie mode on Squad Battles, as well as just win 10 games in general on Squad Battles, that's another 2 right there, which would allow you to make another Hutverse card. Again, the more you have in the lineup, the more they will stack, which will allow you to complete the Team of the Year Week 1 objectives in a much faster manner. But obviously, you are going to have to trade in some of your resources if you want to get all 5 to really speed up the process of getting all of these Team of the Year collectibles. In all honesty, it's probably worth it, but again, that's going to depend on the player and the time commitment that you have. So I'm curious to hear your feedback on the Hutverse event. My experience in the game and the community always seems that people like the more traditional things in hockey more than the flashy changes and things like that. So I can see this being a pretty polarizing event when it comes to putting forwards on defense and things like that. But again, let me know in the comments section what your thoughts are. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.